Hello and welcome to SDN Tech Forum. So if you have watched my earlier video where I have shown you how to assemble a Raspberry Pi, and a Raspberry Pi is sitting at your desk and you are now wondering like what to do with this. Shall I upload a Ubuntu or Linux operating system and try it? But isn't it that you want to use a Raspberry Pi, right? So this is a small compute device. It's well suited for IoT based application, and that's what I'm going to do in this video. If you follow along with me, by the end of this video you can convert this Raspberry Pi as a DNS sinkhole, or in layman term DNS security device. That means you're worried that you can click a malicious link which can take you to a dangerous website and steal your information. Those things will be taken care if you have this application running on Raspberry Pi and plugged in to your home network. All right, let's get started. So here you can deploy that application yourself if you have some Linux expertise, but I want to introduce you to a cloud-based platform which actually offer this capability for home users for free, right? And that's where I'm going to share my experience with Balena Cloud. So Balena Cloud is a company which actually, if you go to their web page, it says the container-based platform for deploying IoT application. That is their definition, okay? And your first 10 devices are always free and full feature. So you are not paying anything for your first 10 device. You can simply go to the website and sign up, okay? So once you sign up, what you can do, it has tons of application available. You can, whatever application is suited for your use, you can simply deploy that application from cloud platform to your home Raspberry Pi agent, and that you can orchestrate that deployment from cloud. So that is the cool thing. In this, we are going to pick an application called Pi-hole, because that is a well-suited application for making your Raspberry Pi as a DNS sinkhole. And without wasting any time, let's understand how the cloud-based controller works to talks to your Raspberry Pi and the security stuff, okay? And then we will, in later part of the video, we will actually go and deploy a Pi-hole. All right. So this is a hand-drawn diagram because of the time crunch. I just wanted to show you that if you are going to connect a small compute from your home to a cloud, the first thing comes in mind, is it secure, right? So a little bit of research I did, how they connect, what is the security risk, or how secure they are. So this is the architecture diagram. You can see Balena controller is actually located in AWS as a EC2 instance, compute instance. That's where you actually, when you sign up, you land to this portal, okay? This is your cloud portal, and from cloud, this is your Raspberry Pi. If you see my cursor moving, app and host OS. So Balena actually works on container basis. So first you have the host Balena OS installed, and then on top of that you can install any application. In our case, we are going to install Pi-hole, right? So the communication between Balena controller and Raspberry Pi is very secure. So you actually end up building a VPN tunnel. It's all automated, but it's always best to know the architecture and how they are secured, right? So they have a VPN based communication between Raspberry Pi, home Raspberry Pi, and controller. And now you're wondering that how this VPN connection comes up. So this thing is totally automated because the software what you're downloading, it has all the VPN parameter. So pardon my handwriting, it says keys are already present in OS, and we are making a VPN connection using Diffie-Hellman exchange, RSA keys, and encryption, AES 256 encryption. Very much industry standard, up to the mark, okay? So client actually authenticate itself to server using the keys what comes preloaded in the software, because you download the software from Balena Cloud. Okay, and server basically just authenticate to client using the HTTPS. Okay, now if you are sitting here with your PC, you can access Balena Cloud. So you actually log into your cloud, and for that you use generally HTTPS connection, so which is secure communication, and then you can enable multi-factor authentication also. So for cloud access, you can enable multi-factor authentication. So that's added layer of security. Along with that, Balena controllers, how they secure themselves, they have the cloud security. So they have all the best practices for cloud security. That's how they secure themselves. All right. Container, how containers are secure, or how the applications are secure. Only designated ports are open. So I have run a nmap scan. I'm not sure if I captured the result, but looks like most of the ports are well secured. Only the designated ports which are designated for services, they are only open. So now let's talk about the application which we are going to install. So it's a Pi hole. This is a snapshot I captured, and definition I captured from their project itself, GitHub project. So it reads that if you have ever been frustrated with intrusive and internet advertisement, malware, malicious link, you are always wondering that the link I'm clicking, is it safe, or you're getting some email attachment and you're clicking that, if that is safe, right? Because the way DNS works, that if it is a hyperlink, you click it and it's going to make a recursive query that who has this domain name, reply me, right? It doesn't check whether it is secure, what is their security rating and all. Most of the DNS, obviously Cloudflare and Umbrella does that, but your service provider who act as a DNS, sometimes they are not that secure. So that worry, you can take things in your hand and deploy this small application called Pi hole on your Raspberry Pi in totally automated fashion, and then just change your device DNS server from default, which is your router, to this Pi, and then your devices will start using Pi services. And how Pi blocks services, that we will see in demo, right? All right, so when you install Balena, we'll come back to that. Let's go to the sign up portal, and I'll show you the walks, stepwise walk what we are doing, and then we will come back to do a network and architecture assessment. So let's go back to the site, and you can see I am signed up. So when you sign up, you can see your application, your organization. So I have created application, and I have one device live here, which is my Pi hole. But when you sign up, you don't have this dashboard. So what you have to do, first thing is create an application, give it a name, and choose a device type. Okay, so I'm going to say delete me, because I'm not going to, and then choose a device type. So my device type is Raspberry Pi 3B plus, which is 64-bit OS. If you are not sure what kind of Pi you have, you can actually check the order link, or the specification book comes along with Pi. Pi 3 model B is 64-bit OS. And then application type, I have starter, that's fine. And then you can create an application. So I'm not going to create an application, since I already have this application. In this application, once you have created this application, what you have to do, you have to add your device, and that's where. So you already mentioned that for my project I'm going to use Raspberry Pi, that's why this thing is preloaded, but you can obviously go back and change. Okay, what select OS and type, I want Balena OS, and it is going to be a development image, and network connection, you can pick one actually. So at a time, Balena is available at listening at one of the interface. So if you plan to connect it using Ethernet, use Ethernet or Wi-Fi. Sorry, it says Wi-Fi and plus Ethernet, but anyways, start with Ethernet, that's better. and then you are going to download Balena OS. And Balena OS, you can see, is 148 MB. So you're thinking it's very lightweight, but actually when you download it, expand, and it expand to some 900 MB, which is still better. It's not too heavy. So what you can do, you can add this, download this OS, and then you can boot your Raspberry Pi with this. But you can see it is actually using only Balena OS, so it is going to give you a native OS, but that's not you want to use, right? You want to use the application. So I'll tell you how to do both the things in one shot. Basically what you have to do, you have to go to hubs.balena.io, and here you can search your application. And I'm going to, there are a lot of tons of very good application here. Pi-hole, so you can see all the people, they are like publishing there. So this is Pi-hole. Just click on deploy with Balena. Once you click deploy with Balena, it's going to use your if you are logged in, it will take you to the dashboard, and then here again you can create a new organization and project and application. Now see, we have changed the application to Balena Pi-hole instead of Balena OS, and then you see deploy to application. Actually it started deploying to my organization because I didn't select created a new organization. So basically what will happen that let's do it again. Deploy with Balena, and I'm going to say create a new application instead, because I already have a and now I'm going to say delete me. Default device type is Raspberry Pi. Create and deploy. When you say create and deploy, that time you are going to get the OS. You are going to download this OS to boot your device. Okay. So once you once you download that OS and boot your device, then things are like really simple. And yeah, here you can see it started deploying again. So you just have to boot your Raspberry Pi, and you will see that that Pi will be available here and under the project, and you will start seeing the IP address and all those MAC address and everything, and Pi-hole services. So Pi-hole services are like Pi-hole and other services, and you can also SSH to those terminal. Either you can SSH to host OS, or you can SSH to the services. Everything you can control from the controller. So that's how easy it is to deploy. Now let's go back and try to dig a little bit into that. But if your goal is just to deploy Pi-hole, you are good at here. Okay, and then what you can do, you can actually use the IP address, whatever IP address it get assigned. If you are using DHCP in your environment, you can open Pi-hole UI locally on your machine. As you can see, this is my reserve IP address. Better to reserve an IP address for your Pi-hole, maybe a MAC address based reservation, so that every time you reboot, it get the same IP address, because you are going to use it as a DNS server. You don't want the DNS server IP to change in every reboot. So once you you have the IP address allocated, you can put simple HTTP and the IP address. It will bring you to this dashboard. You may have to log in. I'm already logged in. You may have to log in, and the username is admin. Password, you have to set the password first time. Okay, so I'm just going to and once you log in, you will have this nice dashboard. And I have already one client where this is actually my phone, and I change my phone's DNS IP address to Pi-hole, and that's how it is using. And you can see a nice visualization of everything, all my DNS record, how many queries I have made, how many queries in block, and all those things, right? Now you are thinking that where exactly what this DNS server refers to, right? What is blocked, what is not blocked. So those information you can actually. So there are a lot of hyperlink we have to use if you want to dig deep, and I'm going to put all the hyperlinks I'll make it available in our description section. So you can see this is the project my Pi hole referred to, and that's where you can see all these addresses. They are marked as 000. That means they are blocked. So whenever I query my DNS and my Pi hole sees that it is one of these names, it just written all 0. That is, it's going to dump the traffic. It's not going to forward it anywhere. Okay, so now it is a good time to go back and actually dig a little bit into architecture. Okay, so when you boot your Raspberry Pi, what do you see? I have booted my Raspberry Pi, and when I do IP route grep default, it is actually defaulting to my router IP address because it get the IP address from DHCP, and my router is running a DHCP. Then you want to look at the interfaces. So you can see on my Ethernet, since I'm connected to Ethernet port, this is the IP address I got, and this is the IP address I'm going to use to access Pi hole UI. But along with that, I have got a wireless LAN interface, but wireless LAN interface has not received any IP address. So you will start wondering that, oh, I don't want to keep my Pi plugged into an Ethernet port. Probably I just want to keep it at my desk, and since I have wireless card, why not use wireless interface, right? So for that you have to tweak some configuration file, and that's what I'm going to show you later in this video. Other than that, we have some other IP addresses, 10 series IP addresses, 172 series IP addresses. All these are like internal network and VPN used for VPN connections, right? Because it is a Kubernetes infrastructure. It has 172.17 public private address range, and then some VPN endpoints. So this is all by default. Okay, but it's good to know, like, there are like a lot of other networking pieces going under the hood. Then what you can see, if you go to network manager services, this is the default configuration comes, and here you can see the URI is HTTPS API Balena Cloud connectivity check. So this is our VPN. When we set up the VPN, my host and Balena Cloud, they have this connectivity check every hour. So it's not that it is sending a lot of data back to the cloud. No, the management, it's only management data, and if any updates are required, that is taken care by the VPN connection. And in my observation, it doesn't use 3 MB to 4 MB data for a 24-hour period, which is pretty nominal, right? Then what you can do, since it is a Linux environment, you can click print env and understand about environment, and that's where you will realize that there is a public IP address. And now you're curious, like, where I'm forming this SSH tunnel, and if you do a NS lookup, you will realize that compute one AWS, Amazon AWS. That's mean the Balena controller is hosted in AWS, and this is my SSH tunnel from my host to the controller. Now let's do a couple of things. So you have the Pi sitting at your desk, and you can access it via cloud. But as a network engineer, you always have this curiosity that I want to SSH to it, right? I want to manage it locally. So for that, Balena doesn't listen at port 22 for SSH, and to enable SSH, you need to do a couple of things. So what you will do, to enable local SSH, first you have to edit config.json file. So config.json file, think of it as like it's a deployment configuration. It has everything. So where you can find config.json, you can find it mount boot and config.json. So I'll advise, if you want to edit this file, first copy this file to some other with some other name like .new. Edit that file, make sure there is no syntax error, use some JSON editor, and then copy it back. Okay, now what you want to edit? If you look at the config.json, you can see my API Balena Cloud. That's where I want to go, and all those nice information, what port I'm listening, what is my VPN endpoint, what is my VPN point, all those, everything related to configuration, right? The part which will be missing is this OS SSH key and your SSH key. So this is the part you have to edit if you want to access your Pi or SSH to your Pi locally. So what you're going to do, you can include this piece, and here you have to upload your public key. So whatever public private key pair you have, put your public key there. Just edit this document. Sometime when you try to edit config.json, you may see that this is a read-only file and you don't have permission. Even if you are sudo, then what you can do, you can actually mount and remount to make it readable. Because mind it, right now how you are editing this config, you are editing this config from Balena dashboard by SSHing into host OS. Okay, once you edit this, then you have the SSH connection available, and I'll show you how to SSH it locally. It listen at port 22222, that means 52. Sorry if I confuse you here. When we do a SSH, things will be clear. All right, so this is what you want to do when you want to SSH to your Balena Pi. The second thing, as we mentioned, that it has Ethernet connectivity. My wireless LAN didn't get IP address, though I have a wireless NIC. So what you have to do, that you have to edit two configuration file or configuration file at two places, right? So this is my initial state. My WLAN is disconnected. It has not associated with my AP. The reason being, if you go to the configuration file is not edited, and mind it, it doesn't work like a typical Linux where you deal with WPA supplicant to configure your wireless connection. Balena, it's a little different. So what you have to do, you have to go to two directories, two places. MNT boot system connections. If you come here, you will find two files, resin .sample and resin sample ignore, or maybe you will actually find only one, resin.sample.ignore. And why resin? Because Balena before rebranding, the company name was Resin. That's why you will see a lot of Resin reference in their OS, though the new name is Balena. So basically you will only find resin-sample.ignore, and if you cat this file, you are going to see this is the parameter. And what you have to do, you have to simply come edit this file, put your SSID, where you are going to edit as SSID place, whatever is your home SSID, use your SSID, and then put your password. So this is the file you are going to edit, resin-sample.ignore, and simply copy it or move it as resin.sample, because the OS actually ignores anything after .ignore. So host OS is not going to read this file. It is actually going to read only this file. So Balena actually provide you the sample configuration. You can use the sample configuration and edit it and make a copy called resin.sample, where MNT boot system connection. That is the one place where you have to make this editing. The second, you have to go to MNT state root overlay etc network manager and system connection. Again, when you come here, you will find the same file, resin sample ignore. Make the same modification, name it as resin.sample, and your Wi-Fi configuration is ready. What you have to do now, you have to simply reload the Wi-Fi connection or all the connection. NMCLI is available by default. So you can just come here and say NMCLI connection reload and watch the log. So if you want to watch the log, you can watch the log using this command, journalctl command, and you can see what is going on. So basically my activation Wi-Fi connection has security and it's secret. So it has found SSID by scanning, and then it has found key associated, trying to associate. WLAN is associated, so it is already associated with my ESSID, and that's the complete log. Okay, and finally it says that DNS information is written in DNS manager. And now as a verification, earlier I didn't have the IP address. Once I made the modification at the two places, reload the connection, I got the IP address on my WLAN interface, and that's what I'm using as my DNS. Okay, now we'll shift gear and talk about Pi-hole. What is Pi-hole? Pi-hole is nothing but very age-old Linux utility called DNS mask. What is DNS mask? DNS mask is a compiler or a complete combined service of DHCP, DNS, DNS caching, and a TFTP server. So it's a read-only TFTP, but anyways, the main use of DNS mask is DNS and DHCP. So if you have a DNS mask installed, that means you can run a DNS server on that node. You can run DHCP server on that node, and Pi-hole is using this utility only, though they have enhanced it, rebranded it, and we will see what is that called. Okay, but at the core, very core, this is DNS mask. Okay, so what happened when you install Pi-hole basically? So if you have installed Pi-hole on Raspberry Pi and you are SSH to it, then what you can do, you want to look at what is my DNS configuration, which is available under hcresolve.conf, and you can see the name server it is using itself localhost, and then another name server is 111, which is Cloudflare. Okay, now if you want to, for a verification, I'm going to verification how these things work. So for example, we have seen what are the sites which are blocked, right? So Pi-hole refers to a GitHub repo where you have name of all the block site, and I have picked one of the block site. Okay, but right now my client is not set to client DNS is not set to Pi-hole. It is set to the default, which is router. So what happened when I try to access a malicious site with router as a DNS? I'm showing you example. So I'm just doing a domain information gopher dig or NSLOOKUP to this. You see what happened. So I got a reply. With the IP address. That means my DNS server thinks, yes, this is a resolvable. This is this is safe or not. It doesn't help me with that. It just says that okay, this is resolvable, you can go there. But if I go there, that site is malicious, my information may be stolen, or I may be subject to some attacks, cyber attacks. Then what I did, I changed my DNS name to Pi-hole, and for verification I'm showing you the Mac. In Mac you can actually check DNS server using command line scutil, and now you can see the name server is set to Pi-hole. 141 is Pi-hole, and now I'm doing the same check. So I'm trying to resolve the IP address for a malicious website, and this time what is the difference? You can see this time my DNS server is Pi-hole, and it has actually returned all 0. So it is not going to forward traffic. That's why it actually protects me. So I hope you got why Pi-hole, why it is important, and how to deploy it. Deployment is very simple, very straightforward. Things look pretty secure. cloud is secure, your ports are secure, at least in my opinion. Do your due diligence, and these are the important URL I have put here. So whatever things we talk about, like how to enable SSH, how to do Wi-Fi networking, all those things you can check out with these links. There are like tons of document available, and you may feel lost with this. That's why I made this video to help you get started and learn from my experiences, because I was also not aware that how Wi-Fi is not working and all those things. All right, now let's go back and show you a couple of other things in dashboard itself. So let me go back to my org, my application, and where my Pi hole is running. Here my Pi hole is running, okay, and I'm going to click it. So it is going to load all the details, and I want to show you. So I can see my Pi health here, CPU, temperature, memory, everything. Okay, what is my current release? I want to talk about device variable. Okay, so if you want to make the switch what I made from Ethernet to Wi-Fi, what you have to do, you have to come here and make two changes. First is DNS mask listening, and the second is interface. Okay, so initially I started with ETH0, and then what I did, I came here and then I changed it to whatever is my wireless nickname. In my case it is WLAN0, so I make that change, and now I can access my Pi hole using the IP address available on WLAN0. Unless you make this change, you will see that Pi hole is not listening at port 80 on WLAN0. So you have to make this service variable change here. Two places, DNS mask listening and interface. All right. For SSH, let me show you organization, and if I go here, my preferences, here you can actually upload your public key directly from, so Balena has an integration with GitHub, and you can actually if you have your public private key, so pair public key uploaded to GitHub, you can import that public key from GitHub securely to Balena Cloud for SSH. Two-factor authentication, you can enable two-factor authentication, and this is to log into Balena dashboard. All right, okay, let's spend a couple of minutes on Pi hole itself. So it is HTTP because it's sitting in your network. Then you can do login. Once you do login, then all the options will be available. Here you can see blacklist. If I want to blacklist something by my own, not relying on GitHub, right, I can do it. So I can simply type some domain name and add it to blacklist. So it is going to be inclusive, whatever is blacklisted at GitHub repo plus what I am doing manually. Or you can do a regex filter. So if you are aware about regex, you can actually create some cool regex to protect your kid going to a malicious website and all those things. You can protect using this. Tools, there are very good tools available. One which I like, and Gravity, FLT logs, these are all services Pi hole uses. So Gravity is just like config.json. Gravity is a configuration file for Pi hole, and FLT is nothing but the DNS server, and they call it FLT. You can do tail Pi log, and it can actually give you a nice log that what is going on within your network, what you are querying, where you are querying, all those things. Network tab, this is a very nice, how many clients you have, what is their MAC addresses, where they are going, and this is background color, this is in color. So just now device is not using Pi hole, you can actually see what devices I'm not using in Pi hole, and This way you can make sure that you have full coverage. All right, whitelist. I have not used whitelist, so and long-term data. You have nice graphics. Graphics is actually available at dashboard only, but query log, group management, client. So you can actually add those things. Not all these features I have used so far. So okay, what I want to show you is how it is referencing to GitHub, the link here. So you have to come to group management, domain, add list. Here you can see this is where I am referencing, and it is enabled. So make sure you have this. This is the default configuration, but it's always better that you make sure that is enabled. That means it is actually referencing to GitHub and protecting you, because if you disable it, then it will work just like a Cloudflare DNS. Right. I hope you find this video useful, and we are touching a deep concept here, a wide variety of information coming together for a simple application. But again, I highly recommend you protect yourself with DNS sinkhole, because DNS based attack is very prevalent in market. You get a SMS with a malicious link, and on your mobile form factor you really don't read everything. So you, out of curiosity or something, so with social engineering, you can click that link and you may be a victim of cyber attack. So it's always better to protect your network, especially at home. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy that video. You have any questions or any trouble deploying this application, feel free to write in comment section and I'll come back to you. I hope you and stay safe, stay home. Thank you.